The naval forces of powerful countries are using aircraft carriers for defense purposes. Naval forces have fighter aircraft for securing their country's sea boundaries. Currently, very few countries have aircraft carriers in the world. Aircraft carriers are warships with complete aircraft landing and takeoff platforms known as the flight deck. Carriers have other facilities like carrying, arming, deploying, and recovering aircraft. A radar deck is a station to track and record the aircraft data in their range. Today, I am going to show you top secrets of U.S. aircraft carriers. Before the start of the video, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more content, subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. The fearsome power of America's aircraft carriers makes them a potent tool for deterring aggressors without needing to rely on nuclear weapons. However, it is a common refrain among military analysts that our carriers are becoming vulnerable as long-range anti-ship missiles proliferate around the world. For instance, Sidney Friedberg of Breaking Defense, one of the most respected journalists covering the military, observed in a March 12 budget analysis that Beijing's growing arsenal of precision-guided missiles seems increasingly able to find and cripple a 1,000-foot-long flat top. Deployed carriers are always moving, and they are moving fast enough in fact to outrun most submarines. Because they can sustain speeds of 35 miles per hour, the Nimitz-class carriers populating the current fleet can move to anywhere within a 700-square-mile area within 30 minutes. After 90 minutes, that area grows to over 6,000 square miles. So finding a carrier isn't the same thing for enemies as successfully targeting it. By the time their weapons arrive, it will likely be gone. U.S. carriers have unlimited range. Despite their huge size, Nimitz-class carriers and the Ford-class carriers that will replace them are unlimited in their reach thanks to nuclear propulsion. Their operations will not be disrupted if fuel tankers servicing the rest of the fleet are intercepted. Nuclear power enables the carriers to execute deceptive maneuvers in any direction for any duration, far exceeding the range of most hostile forces struggling to find them. Carrier air wings can destroy enemy combat systems before they get near. A typical carrier air wing contains dozens of F-A-18 and F-35 fighters, equipped with sophisticated sensors and precision-guided weapons. It will also contain radar planes that can see threats hundreds of miles away, and Growler electronic warfare aircraft capable of jamming enemy radar and communications. These airframes greatly outclass the forces they will be facing, and can intercept attackers long before they get within targeting range of a carrier. Carrier sensors are netted with other friendly assets. The Navy has spent decades figuring out how to connect all of its scattered warfighting assets into a single integrated network, so deployed carriers won't just be relying on their organic sensors to detect threats. They will receive continuous information from surface and undersea warships, from manned and unmanned aircraft, and even from orbiting reconnaissance satellites. Not only will the carrier have detailed awareness of potential dangers, but it will be able to use weapons on remote warships to intercept threats that may be beyond the reach of its onboard systems. Carriers never deploy alone. Whether they are traveling to the Western Pacific or the Persian Gulf or the North Sea, U.S. carriers never deploy without escorts. These include multiple surface combatants equipped with the world's most advanced air and missile defenses, plus nuclear-powered attack subs that are unsurpassed in their ability to find and destroy hostile warships on or under the sea's surface. The surface warships are being upgraded with a new generation of weapons for intercepting overhead threats and a radar 100 times more powerful than the legacy system. The submarines are continuously improved to stay ahead of undersea rivals such as the Russian Navy. Carrier defenses are layered to provide in-depth protection. Carrier strike groups arrange their defensive perimeters in layers that reach out hundreds of miles, so that any enemy seeking to get within targeting range must overcome multiple hurdles. That applies to hostile missiles, manned aircraft, submarines, or any other potentially threatening system. The virtue of layered defense is that no layer needs to be perfect to protect the carrier. For instance, if each one of 3 layers is 80% effective, the number of successful penetrators, 0.2 times 0.2 times 0.2, would likely be less than 1 in 100. Carriers are nearly impossible to sink. Because of their vast size, U.S. aircraft carriers have hundreds of watertight compartments. They also have thousands of tons of armoring and redundancy built into major onboard systems, such as the electrical wiring, so that one weapon that might penetrate a layer defense isn't likely to do great damage to the carrier. The vessel won't sink, and the crew will probably be able to work around whatever damage is incurred to continue performing their mission. The size of the carrier that some pundits fear makes it vulnerable to attack actually makes it more resilient than any other warship. Carriers have extensive onboard defenses. Each carrier is equipped with active defenses that include multiple air defense radars, surface-to-air missiles, automated guns for dealing with sea-skimming threats, electronic warfare systems for deceiving the sensors and disrupting the command links of incoming threats, and an anti-torpedo system. The Navy has decided to eliminate the anti-torpedo system, but the other organic defensive systems on U.S. carriers are diverse and highly effective. Secrecy complicates attack plans. Navy insiders say that many of the defensive features incorporated into U.S. carriers are never publicly disclosed. That means that any plan to attack a carrier involves guesswork about what countermeasures might have to be overcome. Aggressors are burdened with so many potential requirements for penetrating to the carrier that in most cases, they will be deterred from even trying. The Ford class of carriers will contain additional defensive advantages. The Navy has begun taking delivery of a new class of aircraft carriers, providing even better protection than the already formidable Nimitz class, which comprises the current fleet. For instance, the Ford class will provide over 600 megawatts of electricity to power onboard sensors, networks, and warfighting systems. The added power may one day facilitate installation of high-power lasers, electromagnetic railguns, and other exotic weapons for which enemies currently have no counters. So although nobody should doubt the sacrifices of sailors and aviators serving on America's large-deck nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, the danger of losing one to hostile action is modest and receding. You might be safer on a carrier in wartime than you would be in your hometown, which is far more vulnerable to a variety of aggressive attacks. The United States employs the largest and most powerful fleet of aircraft carriers in the world, composed largely of the 100,000-plus-ton Nimitz class, and soon adding advanced Ford-class vessels to the operational mix. These ships provide the nation with its most potent force projection capabilities, and along with their accompanying strike groups, each represent more firepower than can be boasted by many entire nations. The thing is, these ships aren't the only vessels in Uncle Sam's inventory capable of launching sorties of advanced fighters. America boasts an 11-carrier fleet because Nimitz and Ford-class vessels are the only ones that fulfill the very specific definition of a carrier by U.S. law. By the standards of other nations, America actually fields between 19 and 24 aircraft carriers, depending on whose definition you're keen to accept. The other carriers you don't often hear talked about don't meet the established requirements to be considered a carrier under U.S. law for good reason. Congress has legally mandated the U.S. Navy to maintain a fleet of 11 carriers. If the legal definition of carrier was broadened to include any vessel that launched aircraft, it would be too easy to fleece the Navy's carrier budget in lean times. By establishing a legal definition of carrier that precludes amphibious assault ships and similar flat tops, the Navy has ensured that it won't ever be pressured into exchanging nuclear-powered supercarriers for far less capable diesel-powered vessels that can launch aircraft. America's real carriers offer far more than a floating airstrip to launch sorties from, including a diverse array of systems purpose-built to allow these massive vessels to launch a variety of offensive and defensive combat operations that can really be seen as a singular combat system. This system uses ship-based equipment and specialized aircraft to maximize the carrier's force projection capabilities, from airborne early warning aircraft to electronic warfare platforms and missile defense capabilities. America's carriers are self-contained systems built around air superiority and long-duration blue water operations. To the less discerning eye, the 844-foot-long, 45,000-ton USS America sure looks like a carrier. So does the USS Wasp, at 843 feet and around 40,500 tons. While these ships may be dwarfed by their Nimitz and Ford-class cousins, they're really not much smaller than ships like the Royal Navy's newest aircraft carrier, the HMS Queen Elizabeth. which is 920 feet long and displaces about 20,000 more tons. The America and Wasp, both the namesakes of their respective classes of vessel, weren't built to do all of the things an aircraft carrier can do. But they can launch sorties of the most advanced fighter platform in the world, the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. The aforementioned USS Wasp, as a matter of fact, is currently deployed to the Pacific with 10 F-35Bs on board. These short takeoff, vertical landing iterations of the Joint Strike Fighter are operated by the U.S. Marine Corps from the decks of these amphibious assault ships, making them perhaps the most combat-potent non-carrier aircraft carriers on the planet. In a large-scale conflict, these smaller vessels could prove incredibly valuable, as Nimitz and Ford-class ships proved to be the targets of choice for anti-ship missiles and shore defenses. While these ships do lack a great deal of capability allotted by a full-fledged carrier strike group, they would offer a smaller, faster-moving target with comparable combat capabilities under certain specific circumstances. With support from other ships in the fleet and even aircraft deployed from real carriers elsewhere, that capability could be dramatically increased. America's supercarriers may get all the glory in the press, but if a fight starts in the Pacific, it may well be amphibious assault ships, traditionally relied on to support land-based force projection, that could shine as a potent delivery method for aircraft like the F-35. We may not call them carriers, but the targets turned to rubble by Marine Corps F-35Bs likely won't be so discerning. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe to Health is Wealth channel, and turn on post notifications to see more of our future videos. With that said, keep enjoying our videos, and I'll see you in the next video.